You know what's funny? Have you ever stopped to think about how a simple conversation, maybe one about a struggling houseplant, could actually unlock a huge framework for your own personal growth? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. It turns out the health of a plant can teach us a whole lot about our own path to evolution. So it all kicks off with this super relatable question from a girl named Asha about her plant. I mean, who hasn't been there, right? You've got this plant and it's just not thriving. But the answer she gets, well, it opens up a whole new way of looking at our own health and well-being. Her mother, who happens to be a botanist, points out that the yellowing leaves are a sign that it's losing nutrients. But she sees something deeper. She doesn't just see a plant, she sees an entire ecosystem, a self-contained system. And just like that plant, we're all complex ecosystems, constantly trying to find our balance. And this is where it gets really interesting. Her mom immediately draws this powerful parallel. A plant has to deal with pests or a lack of nutrients. We, on the other hand, have to deal with unhealthy food and, not so great environments. And for both, just knowing what the problem is, that's not always enough because there are all these external factors that are kind of out of our control. This is the big idea we're going to unpack. So this idea of our bodies constantly facing these battles gets Asha thinking. She wonders, hey, how come I'm usually healthy, but my classmate is always getting sick? Her mother's response reveals this absolutely fascinating three-step framework for how our bodies decide to spend their energy. Let's break it down.
Okay, so picture this. Your body has a strict, non-negotiable to-do list. Priority number one always is to fight. Fight off germs, protect itself, survive. Once that's under control, it moves on to job number two, grow. Use that energy to get bigger and stronger. And only when those two jobs are done and there's energy left over, can it get to the final amazing stage, to evolve.
I mean, her mom's words just nail it, don't they? Protection and growth are the absolute foundation. Everything else, that evolve bit, is a luxury. It can only happen when the first two needs are totally effortlessly met. Right, so this obviously leads to the next big question. We get fight and grow, that makes sense, but what on earth does it mean for a person to evolve in this way? I'll tell you right now, it's probably not what you're thinking. Here's the twist. This idea of evolution isn't biological, it's cognitive. It's about leveling up our thought processes. It's the journey of expanding our minds, our creativity, our understanding of the world, taking our thinking to higher and more complex places. It's all about intellectual growth. And this kind of mental evolution, well, it gives you a serious competitive edge. Her mom even links it to the generation gap, saying that this is what creates those different ways of thinking between generations. In a world that changes as fast as ours does, being able to adapt and evolve your mind is basically how you win. Okay, so understanding this whole framework is one thing, but, actually putting it to use, that's another story. So Asha asks the million-dollar question. If this evolution thing is so important, how do we actually speed it up?
And that's the question we should all be asking ourselves, right? How do we unlock our highest potential? The mother's answer is surprisingly simple, and it brings us right back to where this whole conversation started, with the plant.
So here's the formula, and it's beautifully simple. If you give your body the right inputs, you basically take the fight mode off the table. It doesn't have to work so hard just to survive. That frees up a ton of surplus energy. And guess where all that extra energy goes? Straight into evolving your mind. See, it's not about pushing harder. It's about creating the right conditions for growth.
And what exactly are these right inputs? Well, it all boils down to two things we hear about all the time: healthy food and a good environment. It's exactly like the plant. We need the right nutrients and the right soil to really thrive. And just like that, a simple botany lesson becomes a really profound philosophy for life. But here's the rub. Finding that good environment, in our modern world, that can be a huge roadblock. Asha spots the problem right away. What happens when the very place you live is actually working against your health? Her mother calls this a human tragedy created in the cities. It's this crazy paradox, right? We build these massive cities for opportunity and connection, but they often have the worst air quality, the most stress, all these things that put our bodies in a constant state of fighting, which leaves basically zero energy left over for that crucial evolution. And you can just feel the weight of this dilemma in her mother's words. This isn't just some abstract idea to her. It's a real, personal fear for her own child's future. It just goes to show you how high the stakes really are when it comes to where and how we choose to live. So all of this leaves us with one final, really big question to chew on. We always hear that saying, right? The best things in life are free, like clean air and fresh water. But in the world we live in now, are they really free?
This whole journey, which started with a single wilting plant, forces us to ask what is the true price of our environment and what part of our own evolution are we sacrificing for it? Something to think about.